All right, let's get into it. Today, we're going to talk about something huge, something a lot of people are chasing: financial freedom. What does it actually mean? And more importantly, what are the real, proven ways to get there? We're going to map out the whole journey for you right here.
To kick things off, I want to start with this question. It's from a real person over on Reddit, and honestly, it's a question millions of us have probably asked ourselves. Where do I even start? Especially if I don't have a ton of money to begin with.
So before we even start talking about the how, we need to be super clear on the what. Financial independence isn't about sitting on a beach and never working again, unless that's what you want. It's about having enough passive income coming in from your assets, your investments, your business, to cover all your expenses. The magic word here, it's choice. It means work is something you get to do, not something you have to do. Huge difference.
And this is such a powerful way to think about it. Look, on one hand, wealth is just a number in a bank account, right? But freedom? Freedom is about having control over your single most valuable, non-renewable resource, your time. It's the power to wake up and decide exactly how you want to spend your day.
Okay, so how do you actually get there? Well, when you really boil it all down, there are basically two main paths people take, two different maps to get to that same destination of freedom. So on one path, you've got the investor. This person is all about discipline, about taking the income they already have and methodically growing it over the long haul. And on the other path, you've got the builder. This is the person who creates totally new income streams from the ground up, usually by starting some kind of business.
All right, let's dive into that first path, the investor. This is kind of the classic route, the one that experts like Ramit Sethi talk about all the time. It's built on a foundation of consistency, discipline, and one incredibly powerful force.
And that force is time. Seriously, for an investor, there is nothing, and I mean nothing, more valuable than time. It's all about the magic of compounding. The earlier you get in the game, the less of your own money you actually have to put in to reach your goal.
And when you see the actual numbers, it is just stunning. So check this out. To hit $1 million by the time you're 40, if you start at 18, you need to invest about $1,600 a month. Now, I know that's a lot of money for an 18-year-old, for sure, but just watch what happens if you wait.
Okay, so what if you wait just 7 years and start at 25? That monthly number, it basically doubles. We're talking almost $3,200 a month. Why? Because you've lost all those crucial early years of your money making money for you. Now you have to make up the difference with your own hard-earned cash.
And what if you wait until you're 30? Get ready for this. The number just skyrockets to over $5,800 every single month. The lesson here is, honestly, it's brutally clear. The price you pay for waiting is absolutely enormous. Okay, so you're convinced you're ready to start. But where do you put the money? Well, most experts point to a really simple, powerful game plan. Step 1, and this is non-negotiable, contribute enough to your company's 401k to get the full employer match. It's literally free money. Don't leave it on the table. Next, you max out a Roth IRA because that money grows completely tax-free. And once you've done that, you go right back to that 401k and pump in as much more as you possibly can.
All right, let's totally switch gears and look at that second map, the builder's path. This is for anyone who thinks, you know what? I don't just want to grow my income, I want to create it. This is the entrepreneur's journey, and these days, it almost always starts online. And I love this analogy from the entrepreneur Eamon Gadzhi. He basically says that working hard is great, but it's not the most important thing. What's way more important is the business model you choose, the boat that you're in. So this chart kind of breaks down his thinking on the different boats you can choose in the online world. You've got stuff like dropshipping, which can be tough. Then there's running a marketing agency. Cheap to start, but really hard to scale because you're just trading time for money. He argues that the real sweet spot, the best boat to be in, is what he calls digital products 2.0. Think online courses, private communities, that kind of thing. Why? Because you build it once and you can sell it forever. That's the key. Low startup cost, low risk, but super high scalability.
So, whether you see yourself as an investor or a builder, or maybe a little bit of both, which is what a lot of successful people end up doing, there are some universal rules of the road that apply to everyone. And if you mess these up, it doesn't matter which path you're on, your whole plan could fall apart. And this brings us to what I like to call the big rocks. Ramit Sethi talks about how we stress out over buying a $5 coffee, but we completely ignore the two expenses that will make or break our entire financial lives. And that's housing and transportation, your house and your car. He's so right. If you get those two things wrong, if you spend way too much on them, it almost doesn't matter what else you do. You'll never get ahead.
But here's the thing. Knowing all this stuff, it's not always enough, is it? How many times do we do things with money that we know are just not smart? Well, there's a whole field called behavioral finance that explains why. It turns out our own brains can be our worst enemy when it comes to money.
And this concept right here is a perfect example. It's from something called prospect theory. And what it says is that the pain you feel from losing $1,000 is way more intense than the joy you feel from gaining $1,000. This loss aversion is why people panic and sell their stocks when the market crashes, which is the absolute worst time to sell. It's all emotion, not logic.
And that brings us to what might be the single most important part of this whole conversation. Look, we've talked a lot about the how to invest, how to build. But none of that means anything if you don't have a crystal clear why.
Ramit Sethi poses this question, and it's so simple, but it's so incredibly deep. Is $1 million just some random number you picked out of the air, or does it actually stand for something? Because if you don't have a really specific vision for what that money will do for you, for what your version of a rich life actually looks like, then the number itself is totally meaningless.
And really, that's the whole point, isn't it? The real goal isn't to live like a monk for 40 years, sacrificing everything for some future that might not even happen. It's about finding that balance. It's about using your money with intention to live a rich life today, while also building a richer life for yourself tomorrow. So the only question left is, what does that life look like for you?